My father was actually a Satanist high priest, so he did all kinds of evil things.
They say, you are a wise man. You remind them that Walter Sisulu was a wise man too. They say, you ooze warmth and charm.
Something strange is going on which has multiple layers of information and disinformation in the mainstream media. We must ask the question of what is really revealing itself in this untouchable world of the elite's power struggle in which we are spectators to. We need to decide how it is going to affect us, the generations of our children after us, and what we are going to do about it. Confronting the hard questions and exploring the vastly unexplained incidences throughout our history has instigated massive shifts in our paradigm of thought and cultural understandings of the events we have been told are too taboo to talk about. We must address the physical, metaphysical, psychological, and spiritual aspect of our true history. We must ask how much science is being used to instigate and explain these incidences, and to ask ourselves, is this all really just another layer of an ever-increasingly elaborate, dark Illuminati hoax? They call themselves the Illuminati. Together they control practically all power and money in the world. The price good men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men.
There's a market out there greedy for gold, and they don't care where it comes from. Now you can help us unload the gold.
Will the global financial system collapse, forcing mankind into enslavement under a tyrannical one-world government?
They were trying to start World War III and then start a world fascist dictatorship controlled by members of this million-man gang. They were trying to enslave humanity. I started writing about this in Japanese, publishing books about it. They sent out an order to have me killed. And then South Korean secret police told the Chinese, and then the Chinese or an Asian secret society offered me protection. At the same time, this cabal offered me the job of Minister of Finance in Japan as long as I agreed with their genocidal plans.
In fact, I found several paragraphs in my literature that they gave me had been lifted word for word from this manuscript, this Protocols of Zion, which is a blueprint for global supremacy. You'll see that it calls for a cult of gold, and how a new Messiah will rise up wearing a crown upon his head, and certain government agencies in Australia don't want to make a big thing out of it. In fact, I was even warned. I was writing my book, and shortly after I published it, I was told to cool it because they don't want any trouble.
There's a piece on Penn and Teller. They told everybody to throw me down the stairs. My car was attacked in Santa Barbara. I was attacked on the streets in New York, and the police refused to do anything. My lawyer told me that if someone tried to throw me down the stairs, or did, and I could prove they got the idea from Penn and Teller, then I could sue Penn and Teller. But other than that, it was freedom of speech. It was a hate piece. It was a hate crime.
Why has Freemasonry and the Illuminati legend resurfaced and experiencing an international public stage of attention, becoming an overwhelmingly popular search term and topic of discussion among today's scholars all over the internet and all around the world?
Look! It's the towers! They're falling!
Is it a fear campaign? But what exactly are they scaring us into believing? There is a conspiracy that the devil rules this world, using Illuminati exposed topics on video blogs, and using the biggest stars and other idols in music that admit to being either Freemasons, Illuminati supporters, or Satanists. They are able to activate a massive mind control campaign infiltrating society into engineering public opinion.
We are under attack! Things so monstrous! Terror unleashed!
Fear and apathy is the best way to do this. Through music videos, and big budget feature films, they are able to influence youth and consumers believing it is all real.
When I was growing up, 60s and the 70s, the music industry was a foil for these people. But they learned quickly. They took over the radio business. It's certainly symbolic. The Illuminati controls who gets on the air, and nobody is going to make it big unless they are, in effect, a weapon of mass distraction, like Lady Gaga, Madonna, even Paul McCartney. These people are distracting you, not informing you. Dylan hasn't really done anything revolutionary in a long time. The rappers with their crime stuff. But that, again, in effect, plays into the hands of the Illuminati, quote unquote, in that it makes the white people fearful and makes them think, though, we've got to have more government, more police to protect us from these people.
This Illuminati, I think all they're interested in us doing is being just consumers. That's all that matters. The more we consume, the richer they get. The more we consume, the more disempowered we become. We become in debt. All we can think about is buying stuff. From their perspective, that's a good way to be. It wasn't like that 30 odd years ago. We didn't have all this stuff to buy. Credit cards never existed. So what we had, we owned.
They operate countless organizations and orders, such as the Vatican, the United Nations, the World Bank, the CIA, the NSA, the FDA, the Smithsonian Institute, the Council on Foreign Relations, NASA, Bilderberg, Thule, Skull and Bones, the list goes on.
I became a journalist here. I started out with the Night Ritter Financial News as a commodities and financial markets reporter. Bank of Japan press conferences to Finance Ministry press conferences to calling up the stock market. And I sort of watched over the years. Japan had a very, very successful economic model. They had the highest standard of living in the world, the lowest gap between the rich and poor in the developed world. Downtown Tokyo, the rivers are full of fish. I watched in horror and dismay over the years these American mafiosis force the Japanese through threats of violence and murder of politicians to dismantle this very successful system. And now they have the second highest gap between the rich and poor in the OECD. They totally messed up this country.
My area of expertise is my involvement in this Mahikari organisation, which I was a member of about 18 years, and about 7 or 8 of those years I was the number 2 in charge of the Australasian area, a purely Japanese enterprise. There is the possibility that some of the funding came from Operation Golden Lily, because when they completed their multi-billion yen Golden Shrine, membership wasn't that big. These people have immunity because the Black Dragon Society of Japan, out of which a lot of this started, that's just another branch of the Illuminati. That's all they are. That same principle applies if you're talking about the Bush family who become a law unto themselves.
The Nazi Germans said, make them afraid and they'll give you all the power in the world. They've called me a potential terrorist. They've called anybody who questions the official line as supporting terrorism. They would give me more credibility. They would cause more of a problem of stirring things up by arresting me or giving me a problem going back than they would by just letting me go and come back. They know I'm not a threat. I am totally nonviolent. I advise people to be nonviolent. I tell them being violent only plays in their hands. It only gets them to have more power. Any physical attack on them will backfire on us. And I've said this every time to every person. I wrote my newspaper ads to try to stop the Iran war. The president used some of my words, word for word, in his speech to go into Iran. The same phrases I use were in the speech the President Bush used as his justification to go into Iran. Came right out of my ad. The words I used in the Washington Times ads, about 10-word phrases.
The Illuminati have been working on a secret agenda for hundreds of years, which is supposed to slowly but surely take them towards a new world order. This means that the world will only have one government that manages everything, and in which the citizens barely have any rights.
This is America!